welcome to HorsePlayer Happy Hour. This is our show for Thursday, August 19th. It might be rainy out there in Saratoga, but that has done nothing to dampen our spirits ahead of a big weekend of racing. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatow, back with you in the Degenerate Flophouse. Once again, I was doing my head count for all the people who are going to be here over the next 2 weekends. Oh, this Flophouse is going to be living up to its name. They're going to be sleeping in the bathtub. It's going to be very entertaining. Photos will be taken. I am joined on the show for the first little while. The man, he's usually always here. Today he's got to run out, but he was kind enough to at least do the first 30 minutes or so as a cameo from an undisclosed location in New England, looking very nice with his new equipment and clean-cut looks. He is Matt Bernier. Matt, what's up, my man?
What's happening, Pete? Yeah, cleaned it up a little bit, went over the other day, and my wife was like, do you really need to do that? Do you really need to? Because she much prefers the beard. And I said, don't worry, it'll be back soon enough. But it's nice every once in a while to see what my face looks like without it on there.
Looking good. It does de-age you a little bit, but that's the kind of thing that can go, that could be a positive or a negative. Let's start off. We got so much going on. We want to tell folks why we're here. Oh, that reminds me. I could tell producer Craig to do this, but I'll do it myself. I want to send out the tweet on my Twitter as well. Get a few more bodies in here. HorsePlayer Happy Hour. This is our interactive show. So I'll say right away, right off the rip, for people who are participating and viewing us live, let us know who you like in Saratoga's 8th race. Matt Bernier, I'll throw that very same question immediately to you. What's going to be your approach in here? Who do you wish you had in the contest? Who are you betting in real life, if anybody?
Yeah, I'm going to bet Vegas Weekend. I just thought she was interesting coming in here for Fausto Gutierrez, a barn that doesn't have a ton of runners, but typically they are well spotted and well placed. I can't help but think this is, I know it's only, a $50,000 claiming event, but to come from Indiana after a victory against N1X types and show up here in a spot like this, I just think it's a pretty confident move. I think she should work out a decent enough trip. Wouldn't go any lower than 5-2, but I wanted to give Vegas Weekend a look.
All right, I think that makes sense. JK had this one 1-2-7 in his picks that I saw on TV. I couldn't shake the idea though that the 6 Battle Bling could be loose in this spot. Do you give this runner any count in here, getting back onto the dirt and dropping significantly?
Yeah, I think that's the bigger concern for me, is that Vegas Weekend ends up in some sort of I don't want to say a duel. It's almost a darn if you do, darn if you don't position, where if you allow Battle Bling to just get out there and waltz on the front, maybe you have too much work to do. But at the same time, if you're going to be the one to keep a horse like Battle Bling company early on, does that kind of sap some of the energy out of you for that stretch run? I still just thought maybe it could end up being a 2-speed number. And even if it doesn't end up being 6-7, maybe the 7 can get the better of the 6. My only concern is they do go too fast early on, as we kind of saw from Battle Bling. I know it's not apples to apples, that turf race now with an off the turf or a wet main track race here this afternoon, but she went very fast chasing a pace last time out and faded late. That would be my only concern about these two hooking up.
That is a possibility. We'll start out with some shout outs. Shout out to Chester, who's watching. Shout out to Lucy, who says good afternoon. John C is with that idea of the 6 horse. Artie McCarty, if that is your real name, says to pay attention to Mike Maker and Luis Saez. That's surely been something that has been a good idea to do throughout this entire meet. That would send you right to Lightning Lou. We'll see how the trip works out for that one, but we appreciate the intel. Chris Couples making a comment about our leaderboard, which we haven't seen yet, but a spoiler alert: David Browning.
The guy is unbelievable.
And we actually had a funny conversation off air with producer Craig, who finally, by the way, is getting into the spirit of this whole happy hour concept, which I will right now with one of my favorite beers from Walton Whitman Brewing Company down the line. There he is, toasting us, producer Craig, on the sidewall there. I'm gonna pop my Dick Murphy Light here. I got fizz all over myself, but it stayed away from the computer, so that's the important thing. We used to do these shows from Walton Whitman. Now they're doing it from the DG Flophouse, sometimes the Brentwood, but they are still supplying the beer, so they get an opportunity for a shout out as far as that goes. Wayne Leffler is with the 1. Townsend asked a question about Bob Baffert and his license. That one's ongoing. We'll report on that news as we have it. We don't have it now. I don't understand Judith's question. You're going to have to specify a little bit more there. Lucy gives us the thumbs up. And then Truman says hello as well. So we got a lot of comments already, which I like to see. A lot of people watching along. Again, part of the point of this show is you're part of the show. Let us know any questions, races coming up, races on the card, betting strategy. Matt's been having some interesting conversations on Twitter. We might have to rehash here a little bit as well. We're going to try to do a runner-by-runner look at the Pacific Classic between this 8th and 9th race at Saratoga as well. So we got a lot going on as they pop the latch at Saratoga. And contrary to my little theory, the 6 not loose at all. The 6 broke okay, but the 7 gets the best of these early. And I imagine that's a position you're pretty pleased with.
Stop the race. Stop the race. End it now. Yeah, no, look, I'm very, it just looks like she's going an honest clip out there. That would be my only concern. She's already put 3 on the field. So, we'll find out. But again, I'm always curious when connections like this go to a track that they don't typically run at. I usually look at that as a positive, and maybe I'm reading too much into certain things, but that's the nature of this game. You probably try to read too much between the lines and you end up making your head spin. But I always look at that sort of thing and I go, well, that's interesting that they're here in a spot like this. And if she gets taken and they win the race, really no harm, no foul. They're going to make out with a pretty good payday, but she's going to have to get the job done here.
It's looking like they're going to make a race of it. That would be my prediction, unless this is just a breather. Battle Bling coming up on the outside of Vegas weekend with Lightning Lou and Suspended Campaign looking like they're both in with shots. But if Vegas weekend can re-break from here, it could prove victorious. I do think the 6 appears to be traveling a little bit better at the moment. We'll see what happens when the battle joins in earnest here as everybody else is falling away. The 7 appears to be all in. The 6 still swinging up on the bridle. We'll have to see if the 7 can re-break here in the stretch or if anything comes in from the back. 7 trying down at the rail, and the 6 now all in as well. So what do you think here? You have a chance to re-rally down there at the wood?
I think I'm coming back on the inside.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real horse race from here.
Come on.
Yeah, you've got you're punching through. You're punching back through on the inside to take this thing. That was a good pick, Matt. And it's always nice when you have that little moment of I'm not so sure how this is going to go, and then you can get the win.
Well, and we brought it up too before the race went off. Granted, it may not have played out the way that we thought it would with the 6 going and the 7 sitting. It still ended up being a 2-speed number, where the 2 horses that were 1-2 throughout, they went effectively 1-2 throughout, even if the 6 may have poked ahead in front at one point in deep stretch. But I think those are always things that you want to keep an eye on. And no, you're not going to be able to retire off of that exact, a 5-2 over 9-5, but it's still better than a poke in the eye.
The money spends. The money still spends. And I I'm a big believer in the better a short price than a long face with a lot of the stuff. Preserving bankroll and being right and coming through, that's important. And $7 horse is not a people don't, I think, always appreciate the difference between being able to key around a $7 horse as opposed to something a little bit shorter in the odd spectrum. Okay, so I guess there was a pony on the track that had a tail that was extremely short. Chris takes the guess that a pasture mate maybe took a chunk out of it. That reminds me of one of the more famous short-tailed horses in recent memory, American Pharaoh, who apparently had that short tail in the early part of his 3-year-old year because of Mr. Z, who was his paddock mate, who took a chunk of that tail off. And I think it was Nick Tamaro who wryly observed that was the last time Mr. Z was ever going to get the better of American Pharaoh.
And well said, and congrats to Nick Tamaro on a new gig, track announcer down at Sam Houston.
Yes, I'd heard about that. I wasn't sure when that announcement was coming out, but very, very cool. He does a great job. He's such a keen race watcher, and obviously got a great command of the language and love listening to the guy talk. So it's a perfect role for him. Very, very exciting stuff.
Pete, I got a quick question for you before we dive into wherever we're going to go next. And maybe this is more international. And I know you guys have been putting out great content about the races over there in the UK. The performance from Mishriff, it sounded like John Gosden was very much open to the idea of a Breeders' Cup run. Although I heard him in the post race bring up the idea of the 1.5 miles, meaning the turf. I don't know. He had also at one point mentioned that the 1.5 miles in Europe, which granted is not the same as the 1.5 miles here, He thought that may have been just a bit of a run too far as opposed to the 1.25 miles. I mean, is there any scenario you see them going to the dirt given the way he ran over in the Saudi Cup as opposed to the 1.5 mile turf, or am I crazy?
The vibes seem to be that it's not going to be the dirt,
okay.
That's just vibes I'm getting. That's what I would want to see. And
Sure.
I feel like for his future stallion value I feel like that Breeders' Cup Classic would mean something more than the Saudi race, despite all the money that was involved there. But I don't know. I mean, the fact that I never heard anything about this, but just using logic, they ran in the Saudi race, and then they were going to be a big favorite if they came back and ran in Dubai.
Yeah.
And the fact that they skipped that spot, I mean, maybe he took a knock. I mean, a lot of horses, they'll run on dirt once, and then physically, if it's not a pleasant experience for them, they won't run on it as well again, and or connections will say, maybe this isn't for us. And there's really no reason for them to come out and say that. It feels to me like he doesn't seem to want what I'm going to guess is going to be the not great ground that's going to be on offer come the Arc and Champions Day. Now, granted, the Arc is of such a place of prominence, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they decide to go there. But the Arc is also, as you point out, a more testing 1.5 miles than the multi-turn affair of the Breeders' Cup turf. It feels to me like he'd be much more likely to get the 1.5 miles on the good ground, the firm ground, maybe even, actually definitely, given where it is this year, Del Mar, of the Breeders' Cup turf. And then he's apparently, don't have confirmation on this, but I think because of the Juddmonte win, he's running for a massive bonus at the Japan Cup. So assuming I have the spacing of these races right in my brain, I think it feels like maybe we got a good chance for Breeders' Cup turf and Japan Cup. And you could still do one of the other, I think, of Champions Day or the Arc in the mix there. So it's going to be a fascinating story to follow what they do with this incredibly talented horse, one of many to put on shows at the fantastic York Ebor meeting, one of the great race meetings in the world. One of these things where once I master this being in two places at once thing, I'm going to go every year.
I thought it was just such a visually impressive performance, and I couldn't help but, you hear other people talk about it, and when you hear them bring it up, you go through and look and you go, oh, this actually makes sense that maybe he's just not a true 1.5 mile type in Europe anyway. And again, to your point, then that all of a sudden brings into question a race like the Arc over that kind of a track and likely what kind of ground you may end up getting, as opposed to the 1.5 miles over here, where it is going to be, I mean, I'd be stunned if we had anything less than firm going the beginning of November down in San Diego. But anything, crazier things have happened. But it did make me think again about the Breeders' Cup Classic, in that he's proven that he can handle dirt. That's not an issue. We've talked about that classic division, and we'll talk about the Pacific Classic here in a moment with some of these horses that, this looks like a really good race, but I don't know that anybody's shaking in their boots from anybody that would come out of this one. Well, if you take out Nick's Go, and we'll find out what happens in a race like the Jockey Club, and we'll find out what happens on Saturday in the P Classic. I don't know. I would look at it and think $6 million or whatever the purse is right now for the Classic, 1.25 miles, which seems to be Mishriff's trip. I would at least have to think about it, no?
That's where I want him to run. Make no mistake. I'm just saying what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, totally.
With tea leaf reading. I think the Classic would be an amazing spot for him. I don't think he'd be any worse than, certainly no worse than third choice in the betting, and maybe higher than that, especially if Nick's Go ends up not having the ideal preparations heading in that direction. So it's a great story to follow. We're going to have a lot of great international participation this year for the Breeders' Cup. More exciting when you're in action for the Breeders' Cup tomorrow in the Nunthorpe, where Golden Pal looks ideally suited to me to that test. That'll be worth watching. Should be about 10:30 tomorrow morning. See if he can build on that and come back to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. It's always fun. I love the cross-pollination between the Breeders' Cup and the top European racing, and it's something that I think is just going to continue to improve the connection between the two, and be something that we're betting on more and more in the USA. Especially, I mean, I'm jumping like 4 moves ahead here, but another thing I'm really excited about with the advent of fixed odds betting on USA racing, which seems like it's imminent, at least in certain states, the ability to bet fixed prices on the foreign racing, I think, is going to make a lot more people pay attention. It's something we're going to be covering more and more here in the Money Media Network. Let's look at this leaderboard. We see David Browning's name on top. Unbelievable. I think I might just bet a cold 3-5 double here. I don't know. Maybe he's had his winners for the day. He doesn't have this wrapped up by any means, but I mean, it sure seems like he's going to be getting tour points again. And with a big finish here at Saratoga, he might do so in style, cementing his place on top of that leaderboard. So
he was throwing a perfect game.
5 for 5.
And then that last race happened. But I mean, still, I mean, he got through. We're not playing 9 innings quite. Only 8 innings this afternoon. But I mean, that's not a bad showing.
No, that's not bad at all. And his nearest pursuers, it's worth noting, both have a 4-5 favorite that he'll chuckle if that wins. Like, that's not that's not likely to throw him over. It'll be fun to watch. We got to check in with him because this run has continued. It is interesting. I do feel like he was one of the ones lobbying to go back to Thursday. He did get a score at least on one of the Friday shows we did, but he's the king of the Thursday contest is David Browning. And it's a good opportunity, I think, to tell folks about these 2 extra Breeders' Cup betting challenge seats. The fact of the matter is someone could catch a flyer and run David down still for the top seat, even if they haven't played in an event yet, the way our rules are structured and the fact that you can get multiple scores in one game. I mean, we've seen on tours impossible upsets happen with Paul Sherman getting run down by Dave Goodfreund the other year, and then even last year with Dylan Donnelly getting run down in controversial fashion, but still getting run down on the NHC tour. So that seat is still up for grabs, but I think more interest to the newer players and something to get people to be paying attention and wanting to part with their money in this contest, aside from the charity aspect, which we'll get to, is the fact of this second seat for the playoffs, as we're calling them, as we start to draw a little bit more near to those. Matt, I'll let you explain to people how the playoffs work, this 80-person tournament we're going to be running for the last few weeks of this year's Horse Player Happy Hour Tour.
In a nutshell, you run in the top 10 of one of these happy hours, you accrue points from 100 down to 10. At the end of the regular season, we take the top 80, whoever those people are, as far as the overall points leaders are concerned. Well, I should say that piece, let me rephrase that. That piece for the regular season, we're talking about whoever has the most points ends up winning a BCBC seat. If you run in the top 2 in any of one of these events, you end up qualifying for the postseason. We go on from that point. But the big piece is that you've got 2 full $10,000 BCBC seats up for grabs. And you brought up the fact that David Browning, while he's got a lead, it's not an insurmountable lead. We still have a ways to go throughout this thing. What do we have still? Almost 2 full months worth of contests. And it's your top 8 scores that count. So just because you may be a little bit farther down the pecking order right now, that doesn't mean that you don't put together a couple of big weeks. You end up picking up 60, 70, 80 points. And before you know it, you throw 2 or 3 of those together, you're making giant leaps up toward the top of the leaderboard, which right now sits at 540. But I just think the combination of that plus the postseason, which again will whittle down basically by half until we get to a final table of 10, and whoever wins that ultimately gets that second BCBC seat for a $10,000 buy-in. I think it's a nice opportunity to continue playing. And even if you feel like you're out of range with the point standings for the regular season, which I disagree, but if you feel like you're out of it, you can still play week in and week out and try and finish in the exacting, punch your ticket to the postseason and go on that route.
And so there's 20, how many? Actually, let me tell you exactly. There are 24 games in total. This is game 18. So we've got a little bit less than we said. There's 5 more.
Weeks.
Yeah,
5 weeks.
Including today, 5 more to come. And so those players, the top 2 from those are part of that 80 runner field. But then there's another 30 spots that are just going to go to the top people on the tour who
Correct.
Didn't already punch their tickets. So it's a real way to reward those unlucky people who have 3rds, 4ths, and 5ths, but have built up a profile. And with the ability to play 3 entries, you could come in cold and have an ability to crack that number even now and have a chance at that $10,000 seat. And by the way, if you finish in the top 2, you punch your ticket automatically. Yes, Michael Tomaville underlines that idea, who didn't already punch their ticket. Michael in great shape there on this leaderboard, in hanging out there in second place. Michael doing some great work for In the Money Media, covering the Colonial race. Has been appreciating his contributions and looking to do a little bit more with him as well, hopefully down the line, and appreciate his support in these events.
Absolutely. I mean, look, it's the beauty of what you all In the Money have done. You've opened up sort of your doors to folks who are, diehard week in and week out, day in and day out folks who they want to have an opportunity to get their voice out there a little bit. I have people ask me all the time, what's the best way to kind of position myself to get my voice heard? I go, well, you got to have decent opinions. And I'm not saying that, not saying that you can't be just someone who's a commentator or someone who just offers up a few different things and still make your way through. But I think you need to have opinions that people look at and say, you know what, that makes sense, as opposed to just throwing random stuff against the wall. And if you can get sort of an opportunity with a group like In the Money Media to open up get your name out there a little bit more and get people more familiar with you from a mainstream standpoint, I think that goes a long way. So tip of the cap to you, PTF.
Well, you say you, I say we, because, the whole YouTube channel was basically created by you. And I think the key move we made early on was getting you in the mix. And it's been fantastic having you on side this whole time, and just continue to enjoy your work over on the Matt Bernier show, as well as the TV stuff you've been doing, and then guesting on other shows as well, including a recent episode of Redboard Rewind.
Yep.
If folks want to check out the podcast, you can see everything we've got through the main feed, the In the Money Media feed. You can find that wherever you get your podcast. iTunes seems to be the most popular place, but Spotify, we're on there as well. Really, again, wherever you get podcasts, you can look for that. Oh, Michael's asking for a little clarification. I believe the way the rules is you can get up to 3 tickets for the finals if you get them through the exacta. Okay, like up to 3 through the exacta, but the field will be rounded out by people who don't even have 1 ticket to the finals. The idea, now I got to make sure it's written exactly that way in the rules, but that was the idea behind it, is to really almost like a bad beat bonus for people who have really put in the time and tried to get to those finals, but haven't been able to. There will be people, I assume there will be people who have 3 exacta finishes. Perhaps David Browning among them. I'll have to look at the specifics of the scores. It's kind of fun on that leaderboard. You can click and look deeper and see which finishes in which games. And there's a lot of good data if you go to that website. What we haven't said yet, we need to say this before we I do want to do this. Look at the Pacific Classic before you have to jet, Matt. But pointing out that $20, the game is only $20 to play, and the house cut goes entirely to aftercare charities. So the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation and the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. So we always say, just come on in, and even if you're not capped up, play all the 4s, plop down your $20 and support this great cause. Because the more that we support ideas like this, the more we'll be able to do player-friendly initiatives that also help the industry like this. And that's what we're all about. Shall we pivot to Del Mar, my friend?
Let's do it.
All right. I want to run through this race. You have gone much deeper than me. So this will be like a little bit of an experiment here where we're talking through. I'm still formulating my final opinion. So I want to just talk through this field with you. We've got 9 runners, and let's just yap about them from the rail out. We start with Tripoli, closer for John Sadler, this horse that ran second in the San Diego, maybe a little bit against the flow, splitting Express Train and Royal Ship. Do you see much reason for Tripoli, 5-1 installed on the morning line, to potentially reverse the form with the winner from the San Diego, who was Express Train?
I do. I think there have been enough people that I know and respect their opinions to tell me that day at Del Mar, inside wasn't where you wanted to be. I went back and watched. I don't know that I totally believe that. I don't know that I'm fully all in on that theory, because I was trying to find out why Royal Ship, who had a seam at the top of the lane, shot down to the inside, why he didn't just punch on through, because I was very taken by his 2 runs out at Santa Anita up against Country Grammar. It's so much so that I actually voted him number 1 in the Breeders' Cup Classic poll that goes out weekly. And I'm sure the only one who had voted him number 1. When he lost that San Diego, I thought it was disappointing. He's run, let's call it iffy at Del Mar in the past. So I'm starting to wonder if for Royalship, and we'll get to him in a moment, full blown, that maybe he has a little bit of an issue there. Tripoli, however, has only run on the main track twice. He's paired up Beyer tops of 100 in each of those. And yes, he was parked way out wide. So if your theory is that inside isn't where you wanted to be, outside may have actually been beneficial for him. But he carried an enormous amount of ground that day. And to only lose by a half length, rallying into, let's call it a tepid pace, I thought it was a big effort. And I think there's a real chance that we haven't seen the best from this horse. Also, keep in mind, this is me, tinfoil hat. Sadler, Ronus Racing involved with Rock Your World. Rock Your World for a moment was discussed running in this race. Instead, they said, we're going to wait for the Del Mar Derby, which is a 3-year-old race on turf. If you want to say it was because they want to run him on grass, I'm not going to argue with you. I also look at it and say, if you're confident in the charge that you already have pointed to the Pacific Classic, no sense in running another one. So I think Tripoli has a big chance. Very good analysis. I do think that the rail was probably not where you want it to be that day, but it's always hard when a horse is maybe with the track, but also I feel pretty comfortable saying was against the flow. So I can definitely see the case. I think Tripoli has to be considered at the very least, a peripheral contender. Let's talk about number 2, Tis a Magician for Dick Mandela and Flavian Prat. Another one installed at 5-1 on the morning line, has been found wanting against Grade 1 company in the past. You think this horse can step up? My only concern is just that he's been exposed against this level of company in the past. I like him a lot. I think he's a nice horse. He's really flourished ever since Mandela has really stretched him out to the marathon distances out at 1.5 miles. I thought he ran much better than that. Almost 12-length defeat in the Brooklyn will suggest 2 starts back, because he essentially reared up at the start and completely blew the gate break. For him to run second that day, I thought was really good. And again, Lone Rock came back and just flattered that form at Saratoga in the Birdstone. I think Tis a Magician is good. I'm not convinced that he's this good against this kind of runner at a distance that's a little bit shorter than ideal. I think he's best out at 1.5 miles as opposed to the 1.25 miles. Dr. Post is a runner I've been a very big fan of throughout his career. I loved him in the Monmouth Cup, and he made no mistake getting the job done and making the 5-2 look like a gift. The race was probably run to suit, I think, in the big picture of life. The bigger question for me might be down to the distance. Does the son of Quality Road out of a Hennessy mare really want to go 1.25 miles? How did you answer that question, Matt? You and I have approached him entirely differently. I have never liked him throughout his career. He's just one of those horses that I feel like is very grindy. But that Monmouth Cup, I will say, going back and watching the tape, to me, that was the best he's ever looked. And he beat a field that I think when you first look at it, you're going to go, how good were they actually? Night Ops came back and earned, I believe, a 101 Beyer in his next start. So he beat a decent enough horse there. It's also worth noting that was the first time Dr. Post had ever had blinkers. The fact that Pletcher and company are going to send him out to Del Mar basically as a dry run to find out if he can handle the main track, knowing the Breeders' Cup Classic is going to be out there. Pletcher has effectively said that in some of the interviews that he's done. And he's also drawn the comparisons to Vino Rosso. They did the same thing with Vino Rosso going out to Santa Anita when he won the Gold Cup. And then they knew going back to the Breeders' Cup Classic, he was going to be in decent shape. Another horse that greatly improved with a little bit of an equipment change. To me, he could either win by 5 or finish off the board. I wouldn't be surprised with either of them. I made him 5-1. I don't think you're going to get that kind of price, but he is arguably the most polarizing in the field to me. That's a good analysis, and I feel like that's about the right price too, and I think you're probably right that he'll go there a little bit shorter than that. Let's talk about number 4, Royal Ship. Maybe a hair disappointing, at least on the face of things, in the San Diego, but this would be the runner if you were thinking it wasn't a day where you wanted to be on the rail. And there have been a bunch of runbacks who've done okay, who were on the rail and have improved their figures. If that narrative is correct, this horse could be sitting on a very big race, second off the layoff. This was the one. If you had gone first and just said, Pete, who's going to win, I would have told you a story about Royal Ship. I mean, and again, I made it clear how highly I thought of this one after they gelded him those 2 runs at Santa Anita on the main track. I thought they were both Breeders' Cup Classic caliber performances. And then he goes into San Diego. And again, if the inside isn't where you wanted to be, then yes, he ran much, much better than that running line would suggest. I look at it, and I also saw some people bring up the fact that he had a trip. To me, that's the perfect pocket trip. And all of a sudden it opened up and he just couldn't kick on with it. if he runs back to either of those two Santa Anita races, he's probably just better than these horses. He's probably going to win. But you go through the 2 runs at Del Mar on the main track were both terrible. Granted, one of them came before he was gelded. Part of me wants him to prove to me or show me that I was actually right thinking that he's that good. There's also a part of me that thinks you're not going to get the price that you need to find out from a gambling standpoint. I made him 4-1. I think he probably goes off favored in here. And to me, that's just too short. So I'm going to sit back and watch. Maybe he can get the job done, but it's going to be purely from a rooting standpoint from my eyes.
Another one who's going to take a lot of money in this spot installed is the 3-1 morning line favorite. And I'd have trouble making him too much higher than that based on the known form. Express Train, the winner of the San Diego. I mean, did so impressively. Got a figure that 101 on the Beyer scale has been proven at the grade 1 level prior to that. I don't know. Something about Express Train leaves me a little bit cold in this spot. There's some part of me that's wanting to say that last time was the time, but I mean, gosh, if you take that last race at face value, granted, pressing outside maybe was a beneficial thing, but I still think it was a very nice run, and I'm not going to be dismissing the horse in my horizontals. That's for sure.
I thought he ran really well. I'm with you on the price. I made him 4-1, but I do believe you could make the argument he's the horse to beat. If you have concerns about Royal Ship's ability to handle the Del Mar main track, it's the complete opposite with Express Train. He loves the Del Mar main strip. He's 3 for 4 times in the exacta. I've always thought longer is better, despite the fact that he's 0 for 2 at 1 1/4. I think he's run really well in both of those races. The thing for me is he is what he is. He's a 99 to 102 or 103. If that's good enough to win on Saturday, he's going to be right there. If Royal Ship can jump back to that 105 or the 109 or whatever it was that he ran at Santa Anita, Express Train is probably running for 2nd or 3rd. I think there's a scenario in which Dr. Post takes a big step forward. If that's the case, Express Train, I don't know that you're going to get a forward move. Put it that way. I think if this race, if the winner earns a 100 or a 101, it's probably Express Train. If it's above that, I think it's probably somebody else.
Let's talk about Magic on Tap quickly. Looked a deserving long shot to me, and I didn't have too much to add to that.
To me, just it looks a little bit tough. I think he's slow right now at this point. I'm also not convinced that added ground is going to be to his benefit. I think he may be better a little bit shorter. You always have to respect Baffert in a grade 1, but to me, this one is just wanting. Number
7, Independence Hall, is a horse who's flashed an immense amount of potential, but is disappointed on a couple of occasions recently, most recently being beat at 3-5 in the Californian after not really seeing out what the trip in a race where I thought it was going to take a lot of beating back in the Santa Anita handicap. You never need to twist my arm to include Michael McCarthy. The blinkers go on. Is that going to be enough to make a difference with this one?
I will die on this hill. He is not a 1 1/4 horse. To me, he's a one-turn mile or 7/8 of a mile. He can get a 1 1/8 in certain instances because he's that talented. I don't think the horse wants any part of the distance, especially off of a layoff. I think he's going to be better going shorter. He's a complete toss for me.
The 8 and the 9 both have big prices hung next to their names, Sheriff Brown and Cupid's Claws. Any chance for an in-the-money squeak with either of those for you?
I've got nothing for either of them. I just think they're overmatched in here. Maybe the distance is okay, but I still think they're going to be so far back and have so much to do that it won't matter.
We're going to be using tag team tactics on the show, Matt. I think you're meant to be taking off about now. Do you have another minute to say hi to your replacement on today's show, or do you need to jet?
No, absolutely. Just a quick sign off. And she was giving me a hard time on social. It was not a matter of I didn't want to sit there and chat with Michelle. Howard said that he had Michelle for the podcast. I said, you're in good hands. You don't need me then. She knows a hell of a lot more than I do anyway. So
he straight up said, he was like, I was going to have Matt come on. But then I told him that you were on, and he was like, maybe not.
That is not how it went at all.
And I was like, damn.
That is not at all how it went.
Howard seems like a mild-mannered, school teacher, but he's stirring the pot here. I think he's trying to make a name for himself by creating beef between you two. That's what I think is going on.
If I didn't want to be on with Michelle, I would have said she can't be the second part of the show, Pete. You got to find somebody else.
Kinchin has done that to me. Kinchin has vetoed many guests. That guy has a list of grievances.
Come on now.
A list of grievances as long as your arm. And you're on the good list, Michelle. you at some point you abused him in a production meeting and it got close. He was like, Michelle has one strike. If she gets two more, she's out. But you've never approached that. But other people are not so lucky. Hey, Michelle Yu is joining us here. We need to introduce you properly. We love her. You know her from such places as the Simulcast World and international coverage of horse racing, and on her own fantastic podcast with Billy Koch on the In the Money Media Network, The Owner's Box. Michelle, how are things?
I'm doing really well. Just fresh out of the shower and the pool.
Fantastic. It was a good day over there at the pool. It looked like you guys were having fun.
Yeah, we did. It was actually a good time. Sometimes it just mostly ends up in me screaming at my kids, but today it was actually fun. So that's good. I can come here with a smile. Although I am hiding out in like the bunker right now. So if I get really red, it's because it's sweltering in here. But this is the only way I can like not be around my children when I do this.
We're very used to animal interruptions, child interruptions. It doesn't matter. Don't hold out on our behalf as far as that goes.
Well, you watch out. Olivia will come and take out an earbud here. She'll like jump right on the show.
I've seen that move. Before. And mine might do the same thing. Perrin inside right now watching some manner of television show. So we should be okay. But, people enjoy the interruptions. We've got 2 minutes to this 9th race at Saratoga. I don't know if either of you had an opportunity to have a look at it, but this would be an excellent time to give the viewers some idea of who they should be betting. And of course, as we often do on the show, we'll ask the viewers too. Send in your tips via the comments. Let's read them out. Let's see if we can find a winner here in the 9th race at Saratoga. Matt, is it as simple as this heavily favored 3 to 5 shot down on the rail that a lot of the people in our top 10 have?
I mean, she may just breeze right to the front, and if that's the case, she's probably going to win by open lengths here. I just wanted to try to take a shot against her. I went to the 5, Awesome Debate for Bruce Brown. The most recent start of Finger Lakes draw a line through it just because of the start. I thought the run 2 back, granted she was in a different barn. I think that at least makes her competitive in here. And at 5-2, I don't think the odds should quite be so separated between her and the inside runner, 3-5 versus 5-2. So the 5, Awesome Debate, that'll be my sign off for this week.
All right. I like it, Matt. We'll root you in, and we'll catch up with you very soon. Fantastic having you on as ever, and until the next time, my friend.
Michelle, I love you.
I love you too, Maddie. Thanks for having 2 minutes with me.
See you guys.
See, he said in my contract it says I don't have to work with that one, but I twisted his arm. And we got it done. Tom has he so often does, has an amusing comment. Ducking your kids to talk horses. I've done the same. Oh, too funny. But let's see. Mike Savage says it is simple as Sadie. Did you take a look at this race, Michelle?
I did. Yeah. I mean, you're right. The race goes through Sadie Lady, but my alternative was the same one that Matt landed on. Normally if JK and I land up on the same horse, I'm panicking and looking somewhere else. But like when it's Matt, I'm like, oh, good. I think that the last race that Awesome Debate and Sadie bumped into each other, Awesome Debate had a big excuse. Plus, I love the fact that she has solid wet track experience, and it looks to me like it's pretty muddy over there at the spa.
Oh, so, yeah, most definitely.
That's going to be my alternative right there, 5-2.
We got a 5-horse field here if you want to call it on the fly. No pressure, though.
Oh, yeah, no pressure, right? Let's give it a whirl. I'll give it a whirl.
Okay.
All right. It's just my screen is so tiny.
Pop that thing, make it bigger. You can just.
I don't know. It's on my phone. I don't know how to make it bigger. I don't have.
Oh, you're on the phone.
At Del Mar, remember?
That's going to be interesting. All right. Well,
all right.
Do your best.
We'll give it a whirl here.
Yeah.
5-horse field. I hope they have names at the bottom. That makes it easier for me.
You can call by number like the Greyhounds.
Oh my gosh, that is so terrible, isn't it? Sometimes I do that though. It's the Union Avenue field scratch down to 5, going 6.5 furlongs, and they're off and running. It looks like the 2 horses catching a flyer are the 1, Sadie Lady, and possibly the 5. Yes, Awesome Debate and Sadie Lady, but it's going to be Sadie Lady to put the head in front, and she's going to draw off by a length, make it 2. It's a little ways back to the 6 horse, and that is Diva Banker in 3rd. The rest of them pretty strung out. As they come into the turn, it's still Sadie Lady here on the front end, and she's increasing that advantage. And it looks like Awesome Debate has nothing to say to that because she can't even come close to sniffing Sadie Lady, who's going to draw off by yet another length. Diva Banker trying to make up some ground in 3rd. In 4th, that's going to be Irish Constitution coming in here off the break with Rosario, and it's a long way back to Hannah Dances, who might want to sit on the bench when she's in the mud. As they come around the turn, Sadie Lady still has the lead, but here comes Awesome Debate. She took a breather and now she's unleashing. Sadie Lady on the front and Awesome Debate on the other. Now they come down to the line. Here's Awesome Debate on the outside to push clear. Once she got free, she was gonna be impressive in the slub here. Sadie Lady gonna be denied the victory here at odds on, and Awesome Debate is no shot to lose this race as she comes home in front. Sadie Lady, in fact, gonna wind up 4th there. It's tight for the runner-up.
Great stuff. I don't know how you do that on the fly. I mean, a 5-horse
I don't
field,
either.
a 5-horse field makes it easier, but you told a pretty good story. I think you gave up on the winner a little too early. That would be my one note. That would be my one note. The breather was just that, but you corrected yourself in call, and Charles was impressed. Charles is impressed.
Okay, good.
And we all are.
I'm glad.
That was. I mean, that's not for folks that don't realize how not easy that is to do. That's not easy to do.
You know what's hard to do too is because in my PPs, it's across 4 pages of PPs that I'm scrolling up and down through to try to get their stupid names.
Next time we'll give you some preparation, and you.
I know. Well, you did in the pool. I should have when I got home. I should have written them all down so I would have had it together. But
Joe is. We're doing some trash talk. We're doing some trash talk, California, New York style here. Until Del Mar gets a non-jackpot pick 6, no contest. Saratoga still rules. It's hard. I mean, you're a Saratoga loyalist when you're defending our track after the weather we've had the last few days. I'll say that.
I will say this. You're not going to talk me one way or the other. I love Saratoga. To me, there is no competition. Does Del Mar have better weather? Yes. Do we have some really great food? Yes. But I love the spa. So to me, it's not like one's better. It's just you get to experience 2 different things, right? It's like drinking champagne or going to a trashy, dirty dive bar. They're both great.
How about drinking champagne at a trashy, dirty dive bar? I'm pretty sure
if you are at a trashy, dirty dive bar, there is a good chance you are not drinking champagne. You were drinking sparkling something or J. Rougette, which is definitely not champagne.
Not a sponsor. Not a sponsor on In the Money Media. Not a sponsor at the Breeders' Cup. We'll just point that out. How about this from Jake? Best he's heard since Durkin retired. We may need to get you. We may need to do a little bit more with this skill of yours. I mean, the fact that you can do that on the fly, you've certainly impressed our audience. That was one of the great moments. So in the original Horse Player Happy Hours, before we had the whole tour and we had all the that whole 9 yards, we did have a bunch of shows, and you were a special guest. Are you shushing me?
My dog is barking.
I'm joking. But you pulled that club out of your bag out of nowhere. I think somebody might have said as a joke, Michelle, do you want to call the race? And, oh, what a cutie!
Oh, here's the showgirl. This is Charlotte.
Oh, hello,
Charlotte the harlot. She's growling.
Oh my goodness gracious!
What are you growling at, dummy? Yeah, I think that was it. We were at Santa Anita, but I don't know if I called the race at Santa Anita or I called the race somewhere else. And it was off a program for sure.
Yeah, it was extremely impressive, as was that. So yeah, we've got a lot of props for you in the comments and out there in the world. So I don't know if you heard, Matt and I were giving our little Pack Classic analysis.
Oh, all right.
Before you came on the air. Assuming I didn't prep you for this, but are you capped up on Saturday, or do you go one day at a time? Oh, okay. Well, what wins the Pacific Classic then?
Now, what wins? I mean, I just kind of want to talk about the horses, but I've been a Royal Ship fan since he came over here. Pretty much, we had gone over to Julie Stack's house, and he was turned out there before he started running. And so right when I saw him, I'm like, oh, I know this horse because he's so good looking. So I'm a big fan of his. He ran okay the last 2 times. I think obviously the more ground is going to work in his favor, but I'm still a fan of his. I think Matt's right, Independence Hall. Chuck him out. He can beat me all day long because he just won't. Really, I hate to say this, but it's not like a field that there's, a complete standout, right? When you look at some of the horses that have won the Pacific Classic, I don't think that we have any of those types in here per se. Tripoli is really interesting too, because it's coming on dirt. He's definitely found some new form, and it seems like Sadler every year is bringing in a fresh face or trying something different. And I think that he's the one that could maybe be the upsetter in here as he stretches out to 1.25 miles.
That's an interesting notion. Matt had nice things to say as well. Where
Did
do you
he?
stand? Where do you stand on the idea of how the track was playing for the San Diego? I had mentioned that I didn't think the rail was great that day, but I feel like I've seen a few horses that were on the rail that day come back and run bigger. Matt wasn't convinced, but I think I agree with you that Royal Ship didn't run badly, but if you can upgrade him for maybe being on the wrong part of the track, I think he might supposed to be winning this race.
I mean, I think that the track did play. The rail is definitely not the place to be. The riders were saying it. They're saying let's stay off the rail a little bit. And I also think that speed really was a lot more prevalent and able to hang on for whatever reason. So that could have definitely played into Express Train being the winner that day because he was a lot closer, if not on the front end, during that particular race. So I think Royal Ship had to have the odds stacked up against him for that race, or the conditions anyway. So yeah, he could absolutely move forward. But I also think that again makes Tripoli a good player because he came from 2, 3, 4 lengths out of it. He was way behind that field and was able to make up ground. Now he was in the more favorable part of the racetrack, being on the outside, so he got like that. It was almost like it negated the fact that he was coming from behind. But I think that he moves forward too. So should Royal Ship win? Yes, but I like Tripoli if he's going to be any kind of a price.
What other of these races are you particularly interested in either wagering upon or talking about from Del Mar's card on Saturday, particularly ones that might have Breeders' Cup implications, but really anything where we might have a bet? Was there any particular race that caught your eye?
So in the 9th race, which is the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks for 3-year-old fillies going 9 furlongs, no one is going to look at Havanika, I don't think, because Chad Brown sent in a horse. He's got fluffy socks in there, right? So anytime Chad Brown sends in a horse, it just gets hammered blindly regardless. We've got a Euro import in here. We've got Madone, who I loved in the San Clemente, but I don't really like her stretching out past a mile. We've got Going Global, who's been like the predominant 3-year-old force in here. But every week, Havanika works on my shift, right? Because we do XBTV and we split them up. I do half the days and Millie does half the days. Every single week, I'm like, who's that? Oh, it's Havanika again. Oh, who's that horse? It's Havanika. So like the last month, okay, I have been like gaga over Havanika, especially this last week. It was a minute and change was the drill time. You can watch the work on XB yourself. Like literally from the minute the rider like sets his hands down to go, she is like, whoop, and wants to do her job. She comes around the turn, she finishes, and then she gallops all the way around. I'm like, she could have gone around twice. She is fit. She is on point. So for a price play, I'm going to look at Havanika definitely to use. Like, can I single her on top? Obviously not. But I really love how she's coming into this race. And so I'm going to use her for sure.
I think her best chance to win might be to try to take the bull by the horns. There's really not much in the way of speed here. Do you think under Drayden Van Dyke this time around, you might see front-running tactics from Havanika?
Unfortunately for her, I feel like Drayden Van Dyke is not really a send rider. However, he is a stay out of your way rider. So like if she breaks as on point as we've seen her in the mornings, maybe she does just naturally take him up there because like you said, I don't think that there's an overwhelming amount of speed in here. Maybe Tetragonal's going to go to the front too. But I think if Havanika is at least close, it gives her a really good shot to try and best some fillies that might be a little classier than her, but she's just coming into this race really well. And you go back to last year, she was only, a half a length behind Fluffy Socks when she won the Jimmy Durante.
Right. There's not much there between them on form. And I definitely take that point that like when there's a horse that you're concerned about how they're going to class up, I want that horse in front of the others, not trying to run them down. Would you agree with that idea?
Oh, always. It's hard to catch a horse. It's sorry, I gotta plug in my phone. It's definitely harder to catch a horse than it is to, be in front and withstand.
Yeah, even now granted at the Grade 1 level, obviously these are classy fillies, and it's not crazy to think that they're going to be able to run her down. But I like that idea. I like that idea a lot, and I think you'll get all of the 10-1 on the morning line there. We're just looking at our leaderboard again. We've got a developing story here, Michelle. David Browning, our tour leader, I'm not going to say looking to put this thing to bed in terms of our tour scores, but he is he's got that $7 lead heading into the last. He's got a very logical runner in the 5 here at Saratoga. David's a great guy. He is the player for whom we designed this tournament, Michelle, because the idea was to create a tour that wasn't about having a bankroll to play in every online game you can, or to be able to make a $40,000 bet and not worry about the consequences. He plays in the big tournaments when he qualifies in. And here he's getting a chance to play against the muckety mucks. And he's really shown his mettle throughout the 19 weeks or so we've had of this tour. Deserving leader in the clubhouse right now, maybe building on that lead. Of course, we've seen in contest play, we've seen in horse racing, unlikely things happen. So I'm not expecting it to be easy for him from here on out, but it is fun. It'll be a great story to see him win another one. We might have to have him, we'll have to have him back on the show. We'll say right now, if David hangs on here, we should one way or the other have him back on to talk in a future show. But we've been having a lot of fun, encouraging the listeners to interact with us. So if folks want to let us know what they think about these Del Mar races we're talking about, or additionally, what's going on in the next race at Saratoga. Chris wants to know if you've seen Soaring Sky work at all. That's the Jessica Harrington Invader that we were referring to before. Have you clapped eyes on this thing yet?
I did not. I have not seen her work. When did she work? The 17th. So yeah, 2 days ago. So we didn't even have anyone that shot. We only shoot works Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays, unless we have like a big name worker that's going to come in. So we're not there 7 days a week, unfortunately. So we didn't have anybody on site to shoot that, unless like someone just happened to know it was coming in and they went out and shot it. As far as I know, we didn't. So I have not laid eyes on her at all. Sorry.
She's a little light. She's light on form, but I think in a way that's going to lead to a huge price. This is a runner I would want at least as a B in my horizontal plays, just off the old thing that we talk about all the time on these shows. And maybe you'll be offended by this as a West Coast person, Michelle, but turf form shipping west is not a bad thing to go with, especially when there's a price involved. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that the West Coast turf horses aren't good, but I think relative to the odds, a lot of times shippers coming, from eastern parts of the world, and that's even true in New York. I will a lot of times try to find a way to keep the state of rests of the world. Winner of the big 3-year-old turf stake here the other weekend at a huge price from the Joseph O'Brien barn. Keeping these horses on side has paid dividends over the years. I have no problem with anybody who wants to use this horse.
I feel like in a lot of those instances, for a while at least too, it was though the Euros would come and they would add Lasix and it'd make a big difference. And obviously now we're not having the Lasix scenario being added in, so we do have to take that into consideration. And I do think that it's easier to come out to, from the UK or wherever they're coming from, overseas, and come here and be able to win. I do think that is a good angle to take, but I don't just bet them blindly. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, you got to look at the situation, and especially the number one thing I'd say is look at the odds. I'm especially not going to take a 4-1 shipper coming in, but a horse like this that I think will be all of the 12-1. Chris points out that Jessica Harrington, not really known for shipping them over, but that could be a positive. And not to be disagreeable, Michelle, but I would argue that the lack of Lasix is actually more of an advantage for the Euros because they've been proven doing it more at a higher level than a lot of the Americans. So even though the Lasix could be like a playing field leveler, I know a lot of their horsemen weren't always comfortable with it, just not really knowing exactly what effect it's going to have. I think taking Lasix out of the equation, I mean, certainly we've seen in New York this summer with these fillies that the Euros just seem better. I mean, for the USA, for the home team not to run 1-2 in those key turf races in the female division. I mean, I think there's some signal in this idea that the lack of Lasix thing only exacerbates the Euros' edge in the turf racing.
Oh, that's an excellent way to look at it too, right?
It's horse racing. There's lots of lots of perspectives. What are you looking at?
Where the hell are you? Looks like you're in jail.
In a way I am, Michelle. In a way I am.
Or in the toilet? Are you in the toilet?
I'm not in the toilet. What are you talking about?
You could be in the toilet right now.
Behind me. We got
like you're taking a poo.
Oh. Now that's over
like
the
a
line.
little stand behind you that
you're
like you put
saying
the
that's
toilet paper on.
Oh my
And then there's
God.
like a
No.
cinder block wall right there.
The
And then
cinder block wall in the prison comment is deserved. The bathroom thing is over the line. Though I could see somebody saying that my horsey curtain resembles a shower curtain, which it is not. No, so this is my makeshift studio in Saratoga. We call it the Degenerate Flop House. As I mentioned to Matt earlier, we're going to live up to our name. I think we're going to have like 6 sicko horse players sleeping in here come Travers. And in that case, they will be sleeping in the bathroom. But it's
and that is the bathroom.
You should see what they want. Now the bathroom. See, I'll show you the bathroom. That's down there, but you don't have it yet. So that's the bathroom. That's on the other end of the room. We're now, very appropriately in my little makeshift office. We got you see the Peloton there too. Haven't been on that enough this summer.
Okay.
Too much eating and drinking.
You brought your Peloton to the bunker at Saratoga?
I wish I could say.
So you were packing, and you packed. And I just picture Pete like this, right? He's like, all right, I got my bag, and I got my, hat and my whiskey, and oh shit, I need my Peloton.
I shouldn't admit this because it's the most bourgeois thing I've probably ever said. I purchased a second Peloton.
Where's my Peloton?
I love that hat.
Oh my
Yeah, that's actually true. I thought it was the only chance I was going to get any exercise this summer, and it's basically been true. But so tell me about this hat. What are you rocking there? Did you steal that from somebody, or is that yours?
No, actually, it's a Stetson. And when we were at Santa Anita, and we were out on the on the turf course and everything, watching horses and reporting, it was like sweltering hot. So I thought I have to get a hat. So I ended up getting this hat at a hat store that Zoe and I went to. It's a Stetson, and it's got little feathers on it here. And I bought this like vintage Hermes like stick pin.
Love it.
And stuck it in there.
I love it. I'm surprised you didn't go for the porcupine quill. That seems like something you could double as a weapon if need be.
Oh. I didn't even know you could put porcupine quills in your hat, to be honest with you.
I've seen that move. It would work with the Stetson. I love the Stetsons. We got the the Christine Moore, the Blake collection rocking over here as per usual. But that looks like a proper summer hat. So Pete Riley is impressed with you. We would agree. We would agree with that. Oh, we have an actual Pete. Racing. What's that? What did you say, Michelle? I missed you.
I said hi, Pete.
Oh, you said hi, Pete.
I said
we have an actual. I thought you were talking to me. You're talking to him. Brian Shields wants to know: hit the road or smooth like straight in the mile? You prepared to answer that question?
Mo Forza.
Neither one. We're going Mo Forza. Mo Forza has a lot of people who absolutely love him. I want to hear your version of the case. I've heard this case before, but I want to hear your version of the case for him. Certainly, stopped the clock in extremely impressive time, to say the least, back in the City of Hope Mile. But, that was a minute ago.
Yeah, but this horse comes off the layoff really well. I mean, he's just not done too much wrong. Anything. I'll say he hasn't really anything wrong. I think that he looked fantastic in his last couple of races. It's obviously a concern, the Lasix factor, but he is coming in fresh, so really it should be okay. You're going to get Pratt, and overall you get a pretty compact field. I like his draw to the outside, even though he kind of doesn't want to be like anywhere particular. I think it just gives him like a clean run to go. So I like Mo Forza.
Have you seen him working leading up to this? Certainly on the tab.
No.
I know the San Luis race, so I don't know if there's any video to come out of there. But on the tab, it looks fast. How much can we trust those San Luis Rey works to get a horse like this ready for a test like this?
I say I always take San Luis Rey works with a grain of salt, but I think, like you said, the times are good. I love the fact that Pete put a 6 and a 7 into him. I actually had lunch with his owner yesterday, who is quietly confident, and he said Pete said the horse is doing really well. I don't think they would put him in this spot if he wasn't, because there are options for him, having not run a race in quite a while, that he would have been eligible for to be able to run. So, I mean, I think they have to think that he's doing pretty good, and Pete's killing it right now, right?
Yeah, he's winning a lot, and it's one of these things. Sometimes they'll do this exercise where you scroll through to try to understand what the crowd's going to do. You scroll through a race in 6 seconds, And based on that exercise, though, my only fear about Mo Forza is he's going to be 4 to 5, isn't he?
Yeah, he might be. And I mean, what it comes down to is hit the road and smooth like straight. I always felt like we knew exactly what kind of horse smooth like straight is. He's easy to root for. He's easy to like, but we've already seen his ceiling. And I always felt like with Hit the Road, we actually didn't know how good he was. So when it came down to it and Rispoli had to choose, I was actually surprised that he chose Smooth Like Straight over Hit the Road, because I still think we haven't reached as good as Hit the Road can be. So could he potentially step up and improve? Yes, he obviously has, whatever issues he has because he has a ton of layoffs. But he comes back from races very well. He comes in off the bench ready to run, and he fires every time he's come in fresh. So this could be a good spot for him. Florent's getting on him again. I'll be honest, I didn't love the ride that Flo gave him in the Maker's Mark Mile.
It was a little bit of a move into a hot pace, if I remember right. Is that an accurate description?
It was like one of those moves where, like, I felt like he should have been closer. Like the pace was hot, but I feel like he should have been more involved. He kind of like sat there on him and then just like never really got into like a good momentum. I don't know. I wrote down at the time like junk ride. Sorry, Flo. I love Flo. Flo and I are friends.
Oh my
that was
God.
not a good ride.
Well, you're telling me I'm on the bathroom. You're telling
maybe it just appears that he gave him a lackluster ride because the field was too tough for him, and that could be the case, right? That was a big stepping up for him to go from California horses out to Chad Brown horses, so that could have been the case also. Let's
talk about the no Lasix thing for a second. So obviously we've got that run in the Pegasus World Cup turf. Have you heard any stories as to other excuses beyond the Lasix that might have led to the subpar performance that day?
Not that I remember, but and if I had known, I would have asked an Ofiro yesterday, and I can't use my phone to text anybody right now because I would love to do that if I could. Being at Del Mar, this is the shitty thing. Oh, sorry, the poopy thing. No Wi-Fi. I don't have any Wi-Fi, so I can't use my computer or anything. I have to use my phone. So
I don't understand how you don't have Wi-Fi. How is that possible? How is that possible? You don't have Wi-Fi at Del Mar?
You see where I live? Don't you see where I live? Hold on. I'm literally in an RV. Here, this is what I look at every day, right? There's the cars in the parking lot. That's the parking lot of Del Mar where all the owners and trainers park, okay?
And you give me a hard time for living in the
bedroom with my unmade bed. Let's see. There's the hallway right there that goes to the bathroom. And then down there, that's where my kids are sitting on our living room / kitchen / dining room. That's everything in one down there. And that's it. That was the grand tour.
Oh, my goodness. We're getting a question. This guy's chimed in a couple times. How do I watch Del Mar races live? Is there a TV option? What can you tell us about broadcast options for Del Mar? Now, obviously, Mr. Cookie Fortune, if you have what's known as, and we don't want to give plugs to anybody specific here, but if you have an advanced deposit wagering account, a betting account, there's a billion places online where you can watch it live. You'd probably need an account.
Right.
RTN.
But they are free.
Yeah.
RTN
are they on?
If you're on
are they
TV,
on YouTube at all?
TVG.
Yeah, where? Yeah.
I don't know if the Del Mar races are on YouTube. Obviously Saratoga is when they do their FSN show that they put them on YouTube, but not that I know of that Del Mar is. But I know they stream sometimes on some of their platforms, and you could watch it on like the TV on TVG, or you can watch it from
they're an approved partner with Breeders' Cup. We can talk about them. So if you have TVG, that would work. But yeah, you just got to hunt around, my man. But the best thing to do is to get a betting account, and then you can watch and bet. So I would recommend that, and I would definitely hunt around on YouTube just in case. A lot of tracks now are putting their signals out there. Chris Couples makes the suggestion that
I don't know if they're allowed to because of their exclusivity.
Okay, so there may not be, but anyway, you can, if you work at this, you can find it. I can't tell you everything you need to do. You're gonna have to be a little. If you're still stuck, holler at me through the contact page inthemoneypodcast.com, and I'll give you some options for the future. For today, you're out of luck. They did, for whatever reason, they didn't want us to show their races live, which is why we've pivoted to the Saratoga format. It is what it is. But so Chris makes this point about Smooth Like Straight being loose. My problem with that theory, Chris, or
is
my
Neptune
fear about
Storm?
Neptune Storm with the same trainer as Mo Forza. Don't you think, don't you think Neptune Storm has one way of going in here? Now, granted, maybe isn't fast enough to keep up with Smooth Like Straight, but pace figures say that he probably is.
I mean, especially from the rail, you send, and you're going to set it up beautifully for your stablemate.
Yeah, it's win-win. It's probably the horse's best chance of winning, and if it doesn't work out, oh, by the way, you become a de facto pace setter. It's perfect Peter Miller team tactics, something that our man is not above.
Pete likes to win races. That is for sure. Don't be shocked though. This is an instance that could happen too, right? Neptune Storm goes to the lead. They take back Smooth Like Straight, thinking they're gonna play and be like, "Oh, I'm better than Neptune Storm," and Neptune Storm wires the field and wins. Right. That's a Peter Miller move too.
Yeah, he's enough of a threat that you can't let that happen if you're Smooth Like Straight. But as I'm looking over the race, I mean, just the figure monkey in me is coming along to your Mo Forza idea in the spot. My only fear being that, I mean, who knows? With those other two big names in there, maybe it won't be 4 to 5. But if you just look at the figures, normally the way the humans bet, this horse would be about a 4 to 5 shot. So that's the positive and the negative.
I like it.
We've got a question about this last race at Saratoga. We've got 6 minutes for us on this show. That's a ton of time. But the question is, can we go against Irad Ortiz in this reduced field? We'll pull the race back up here and we'll talk about it for a minute.
Yeah.
Here. What do you like, Michelle?
Well, I think that whoever's leading your horse player happy hour, Pop the Bubbly, trained by Michelle Nevin. I really like Pop the Bubbly in here. Wet track experience that was relatively positive, went to the lead off of a layoff, was facing older fillies and mares in that particular race. So, looking at this, technically this race is open to 3-year-olds and up, but there's only one filly that's 4, everybody else is 3. So I think that is a positive for her. And, again, coming in with the second race, with the race on the belt, I think that's good. The biggest drawback to me there is just that Michelle Nevin's on the duck right now, over 22. I needed to break through.
I think it could happen because we've got one here that, as you mentioned, the second race off the layoff, attended that very fast pace the last day. Should get a very good lead into the race, I would think, from Viva Zano on the outside. I don't think that Pop the Bubbly is going to be too far behind. Actually, on the tote right now is favored over the Irad Ortiz Jr. Mount Marvelous Maud. And Marvelous Maud has a lot of questions to answer. Second time starter, first start on the dirt, but I mean, slumber.
Maybe Chad didn't know it was on the dirt.
Well, it was meant to be on the turf, and I think he's just saying, what the heck, let's leave this horse in. But I don't know. I'm going to work. I'll pull up some slumber sire stats while we're chatting, Michelle, on the dirt. I mean, I don't imagine there are many of them, but I wouldn't have guessed that he would have had that club in his bag. Of course, Chad Brown surely knows more than I do.
But you get Warriors Reward in the bottom side too, so that's going to give you, maybe enough dirt influence there. But yeah, let's see. Looking at the works have been to pedestrian. But to be fair, a lot of Chad Brown horses don't work very fast. Like, he's not one of those guys that goes out and guns it. Like, he's not Bob Baffert, right? We don't see bullet works from all of his horses in the mornings, whether they run on dirt or turf. So, I mean, the fact that he's keeping her in here, I think Chad Brown's no dummy, my friend.
0 for 30 are the slumber progeny on the dirt, for what it's worth. So we'll see. I'm with you and Pop the Bubbly, not least because the hunch play, having you on and a horse called Pop the Bubbly. That I'm not going to miss out. I'm not going to miss out on that. We're sticking with the beer now, but we do have got the Walton Whitman beer right now, but we do have the champagne chilling in the fridge.
I like it. Walt Whitman beer. I don't know if that sounds very good to me, but
are you kidding? Not only are they one of our sponsors on the network, Michelle, but their stuff is fantastic.
Is it? Are you going to give me one when I come to Saratoga next week?
Wait, you're coming here next week? This is major news, people.
Wait, you didn't know? I'm staying in the bunker.
My bunker? my degenerate flop house? You would fit right in. You're more than welcome if you're serious. How are you getting away from?
But no, I have a place to stay.
How are you getting away from Del Mar?
I took a vacation and got it approved with my higher ups if I could go and come to Saratoga. I'm going to work for Fox for the Travers weekend. So I will
Fabulous.
be up there with your buddy JK. He
That's awesome.
said, "Hey, yeah, Fox. I'm so big time now. I think there's going to be like 15 races on Travers Day. I can't do all those. My hair just won't handle it. My outfit might get wrinkled. So could you call in like a B or a C team?" And they were like, "Hey, Michelle, would you mind coming in and being JK's understudy?" And I was like, "No problem. I would love to come. Can I get some Mrs. London up in there?"
Oh, you're killing me. That's absolutely fantastic. Well, we'll have to hang out. We've got a lot of good stuff looking like it's going to be cooking around Travers weekend. What date? When do you get in? Like, what are you just showing up for Friday?
I get in Wednesday night.
Oh, fantastic.
No. I get in Wednesday night, but then I leave at like 6 a.m. Sunday morning. So like post Travers, like right from the bar to the airport.
Okay. Well, that's still going to give us plenty of time to hang out. Tom says you got to just make sure to pack your Peloton. Okay. Whatever you do, make sure to pack your Peloton.
Maybe you haven't seen my physique. There is no Peloton that comes with this, my friend.
We've got requests for you to call the nightcap here. It's another short field if you want to take a shot. I mean, I won't blame you if you say you want to quit on a high note. That was a very good call, but it's totally up to you. I like having the 2 minutes off.
Let me have a sec to write their names down.
Yes. You'll have right. They're not going to break for 2 minutes. I can filibuster till then. I want to let folks know if they enjoy our act. If you enjoy our act, inthemoneypodcast.com, you'll find all of our shows. We're doing these shows with our partners, the Breeders' Cup and HorsePlayers.com. If you don't know about this, HorsePlayers.com, that's the place you go to qualify for the NHC, for the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, and it's where you go to play Horse Player Happy Hour. We didn't even mention these same $20 games that feed into our tour. They're also regular feeders for the BCBC, the best contest there is. If you finish in the top 10%, so this week that would be the top 13, you advance to the Saturday qualifier. So really there's 3 ways by playing these events you can win into the best contest there is, a $10,000 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, and additionally, you get to support charity. Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. Oh, let's give them a shout out. They've got you're going to miss it by one day, Michelle, but the barbecue at the barn next week.
Oh, no.
It's going to be, it's one of the social events of the season. Great barbecue. And you hang out. There's going to be a lot of racing people there. It'd be better if you were there, but there are going to be a bunch of other racing people there, including some of your Fox colleagues. We'll see about JK, but I do believe that Maggie Wolfendale is committed to attending. Speaking of Maggie, she's going to be my guest on Alabama Day at the Brentwood, our other in-town partner. If you want, and you'd like this place because it's like a fancy cocktail place.
Who do you like? Who do you like in the Alabama?
Oh, in the Alabama, I think Malafat can't lose. What do you think?
Okay.
She doesn't sound convinced, folks. I just think it's a case for me of Malafat going from being the hunted to the hunter. I think is going to work out really well for her. I'm not criticizing the ride. I think they did what they had to do last time, but I don't think it was, run to suit. And given that blood that she's got running through her veins and what she's shown in terms of class and form and figures, she's going to relish the distance. She's one of the few who I think really wants to run that far. And I think she's just going to get an excellent trip, hopefully just setting off some speed, stalking and pouncing and going on with it. I think she might put on a show. What did you think in that race?
I like it. I think Malafat is very classy. I've been a big, crazy, beautiful fan for a really long time, but I just don't know if she wants to go the distance. I think the horse that really wants the distance is Will Secret.
Oh, that's interesting. You think a chance on class?
Small. I mean, she ran third in the Kentucky Oaks, right? Didn't she?
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
And should be flying late. All right. You got your binoculars there?
Gotta get my binoculars here, Pete.
And now we'll hand it over to...
If you don't like Michelle's calls, you should turn away now.
There's no one who feels that
9 furlongs.
I want to do a proper throw here. And now we turn it in the commentary booth.
All right.
We turn it over to the dulcet tones of Michelle Yu.
Thanks so much, PTF. Horse is loading in the gate right now. Pop the bubbly, a little unruly. We saw her rearing. Starter needs to back her up because she's standing crooked, and that's going to let her break badly. So Starter should really be working on her right now. I still see her back legs a little crooked. Trying to load in the rest of field. Vivazano. Still waiting. One left. Horses in the gate for the nightcap here at Saratoga as the rain gently falls down. Is it raining candy? I'm not entirely sure yet. Maidens on and off the turf, going 9. And they're off right for the lead. Vivazano, as anticipated, shoots out there, but is not really making her way over all that fast. So she's still going to be parked 6 wide around the turn there. Oh, there we go. She's going to drop down and get a little bit of a better trip. But Haya Harry has moved through to be up and involved, as well as Marvelous Maud, who's going to be close to the pace, which is going to be set by Vivazano, who's now going to draw off, finds herself on the front end, which is exactly where she wants to be. She's in the clear and she's kicking up mud at her mates. Raining Candy has now moved in on the outside. She's trying to stay in the clear as well, and it looks like her rider wants her to press the pace just a little bit, and they're trying to urge her to get closer to the tempo, which is set by Vivazano, and she looks very happy there indeed. Marvelous Maud is tucked in third along the rail. Right behind her is Pop the Bubbly. To the outside, Miss Flincher, and Haya Harry now rounds out the field. She's just been dropping back continuously since trying to press the pace at the go. As they come around the turn, we have Vivazano, who has opened up by about 3.5 right now, and her lead is decreasing as Marvelous Maud has been unleashed. Marvelous Maud, in a matter of seconds, closing the gap from 3 lengths down to just about 1, although it seems that she had to maybe step on the brakes right there. It's hard to see through the fence. Towards the outside, Pop the Bubbly is now making a pour for it. Ha, see what I did there? As they turn for home, Vivazano still holding on to that advantage in front, but Pop the Bubbly under drive from the outside, and she's going to try and swallow up Vivazano, who is dead game along the inside. Here comes Marvelous Maud, but right now she's less than marvelous, as we have a little bit of a drift situation from Vivazano, who's now out in the middle of the track. Pop the Bubbly, nowhere left to go. She's a little flat, and Marvelous Maud opens up along the rail. Vivazano valiant to try and re-rally, but it's going to be Marvelous Maud for the win.
You've knocked the winner in 2 calls in a row, but that was beautiful. That was beautiful. I mean, again, just completely on the fly. I love the humor. It's great stuff. I want to, Matt and I can still do the show, but maybe we should just bring you in to call the races. I mean, that way we keep a bit of a lid on you with some of the comments, but we get the race calls. Everybody is very excited. That was good. That was very good. You didn't even have to do the colors. So thank you, Truman, for making that suggestion. Joe thinks that the next shirt from the JK collection should be Michelle Yu specific. We did make the Michelle Yu version of the JK shirt.
It would just be like profanity, like how like beep beep beep, like bleeps. That's what it would be. Bleeps just and champagne.
Like asterisks and question marks and hashtags and all those things to indicate obscenity. Charles likes it, nominating you for a new job. Charles wants to be your agent. Tom was impressed. We all were. I do have to point out that you did knock the winner yet again. You're saying Marvelous Maud isn't marvelous. She's making the winning move down on the wood. What are you watching?
Well, she went up and then she paused, like she wasn't going to go anywhere. I mean, honestly, Vivazano handed her that race when she drifted out 4 pounds, and then Marvelous Maud was like, "Oh, I'm by myself. I'll go."
Yeah,
but
Vivazano thought she'd done enough.
I think that she would have won.
Yeah. She drifted out, and that also probably. I mean, granted, they were all legless in the finish, but that didn't do Pop the Bubbly any favors either when Vivazano came out. But it was what it was. But we had a lot of fun with an off the turf maiden nightcap here at Saratoga, and you get all the credit in the world for that, Michelle. Really appreciate you taking time out with everything.
By the way, congratulations, Slumber, on your.
There you go with Slumber's first winner.
Main track win.
Yep, Slumber's first dirt winner. That's absolutely right. Charles has the line. That's right. That's absolutely right. Pop the Bubbly.
I think I said was flat, which I liked.
That was very good. That was very good on the fly.
Dive
bar. You need to just open a dive bar. I think you would do some mad business in a near Santa Anita or Del Mar with we got to go see Michelle.
Dream. I would call it Degenerates.
The DG Lounge. That's the name of our
Yes!
special area at Saratoga. We will license it to you. It could be
Okay.
the DG Lounge. That
I
I
like
would.
it.
I'm absolutely down with that. Oh, that's too funny. Getting ready for
That
these
could
results.
be my shirt, degenerate.
Yeah. Well, we got to send you our. I can't believe, I think I meant to do this and I never did. We've got our Degenerate Horse Player t-shirts.
Yeah, I don't have any of that.
I need to get that. What is, and I think I even asked you this question, but I don't remember what you said. The best, they're all men's sizes. What's the best men's size for you to doctor into
like
your
a
shirt?
medium, like a medium.
Okay, get you a medium.
Whatever size JK wears, I could fit into. I know he wears his clothes a little tight.
I'm not sure how to respond to that. I'm just going to be honest.
I feel bad, actually, to be so mean to JK. Like when he's
he loves it.
It's so much more fun if he's on here.
It is more fun when he's here to take the abuse, but believe me, in absentia, he loves it. So Joe wants to know if you've ever been to New Orleans, the home of the dive bar.
Yeah, I lived in New Orleans for a whole race meet season. So I have been to several dive bars in New Orleans. They smell funny, though. But my favorite was this dive bar that was out off the freeway, I guess it's not like the freeway, it's like the two lane and the two lane, I forget what it's called there, but like off like the main road. And there's a little dive bar if you're leaving the fairgrounds on the left-hand side, and it's like out in the middle of legitimately nowhere. And inside it's like got one small bar and it's got the Derby owners game. So we used to go like 4 days a week and play the Derby owners video game.
That reminds me, we need to talk about this insane digital derby you did, but we don't have time this appearance. We'll get you back on to do that. But I heard nothing but wild praise for your performance out there. But right now, Michelle, I'm going to read through this final leaderboard. David Browning gets it done again. Unbelievable. Another win, turning into a stranglehold on one of these Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seats. But don't be discouraged. There's other ways to get that second seat. You just need to play, finish in the top two or accrue tour points, and you'll be right there in our playoffs, which start in just, I think it's about 5 or 6 weeks' time. David Browning, your winner, 60-20. Huge performance from him. Scott McGovern, Howard Johnson, Jason Kudla, John Twomey, Fred Morgan, Joe McKay, Dennis Madsen, Julie Leboyko, and Eric Kurzal. They also get tour points. Top 10 get tour points again. Even if you're not going to run down David Browning, you still have an opportunity to accrue tour points and get into our finals and win another seat. That way, the other 3 players who will be advancing to play on Saturday, Michael Cavana, Pete Dressens, good to see Pete's name up there, and Michael Boreal, who's another player who I know has supported us along the way. So thanks to everybody for participating. Michelle, do you have a closing thought for me, for the audience, ahead of this huge weekend of racing, Pacific Classic Day, Alabama Day, depending on which coast you're on?
I hope everybody has a great day, and it's a good time to pop the bubbly.
Pop the bubbly. Didn't get it done today, but can in future. Oh, we had a nice little shout out in the comments that Vivazano, I didn't realize, owned in part by Stephen Christ, my former boss over there at the Daily Racing Forum. One of the good guys. Yeah, and somebody we need to have on these airwaves again soon. And Travers would actually be a perfect opportunity. For Matt Bernier, for Michelle Yu, for producer Craig, for our friends at the Breeders' Cup, and the rest of our colleagues over at In the Money Media. Most of all, I just want to thank everybody out there for listening, for viewing, for making the shows that we do, the Owner's Box,
for coming to the bathroom.
Well, thank the plumber. This show's been the production of In the Money Media. Our business manager is Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is the man who takes all the abuse around here. That's Jonathan Kinchin. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatel. May you win all your photos.